So let me show everybody the first one. Starting from here, enhanced communication. And now you get to learn a little bit more about me. So my name is Raquel, that everybody knows. I live in Cary, North Carolina. I recently moved here from London, and I found out a new hobby that is kayaking. And you see my husband we're starting our new hobby, and we were starting in a canoe, so I could take a picture of him. Otherwise I couldn't, but either ways. And on the other side, you see myself and my three little buggers. Miss Cindy, the golden, Miss Archie, the spaniel, and the furry little thing there is a toy poodle that thinks he's 500 pounds. Yes, true story, is the owner of the house. Yeah, and we kind of share the house together here, and it's been so fun. And my dogs learn how to ride in a kayak, which is amazing. So let's get into it. How many of you felt that you worked in the complaint department of your company? Your teams keep complaining about this, complaining about that. It's like, oh God, will these complaints never end? Yeah, I see some hands saying, yeah. So when I started, and I was kind of a brand new Scrum Master, brand new on these things, I was thinking, I'm rubbish. I'm very bad professional. My team keeps complaining about everything. Then I start to meet other Scrum Masters in the world, and I found out, like you guys, that most of us work for the complaint department. So I decided to try to change that. Do you know why people complain? Feel free to answer.
I feel like it's a way for them to voice their frustrations, but there comes a point where, like, okay, let's move on. But sometimes they just keep going, and I feel like they just need to just relieve some stress.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, basically, it means that something is missing, that something could be improved. So not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's the way we interpret the complaint, right? It's a kind of feedback. Maybe not really the nicest one, but if there wasn't a complaint, that could be either a really good thing, like there is nothing to complain about, or maybe you don't have a good communication going. People might be frustrated and they don't bother anymore. That's worse.
Yeah, there's some saying, if your customers still complaining, they still interested. When they stop complaining, that's it, you lost your customer. When it comes to our teams, people complain because maybe they feel that can be different, can be better, and it's just a unskillful way of saying, can we have something different? And the complaint can become a habit and leads to procrastination, and leads to avoid responsibility, because if I complain, oh, because I work here, company will never change, and I would like to do this, and we keep on the complaining, and that gives procrastination. If we look to just what the dictionary says, that is a statement that something is unsatisfactory or unacceptable. I like to say that was a dream that was never met. So teams sometimes dream about working in better environments, have trusting environments, feeling safe, can use more modern technology, can be heard. But they are stuck in the complaint department. So we want to change the behavior. Just give them what they want would not solve the problem, because people will find something else to complain about. We want to change the way people think about, sometimes even the way they voice their complaints. Instead of, oh, I wish we had that, or can we have that? What can we do to enhance that? So do the thing that changing the complaint department. Look, this is not the complaint department anymore. Let's take some action. And who better than us, Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, product owners, people that have involvement with the teams. And this is just not for teams. This also works in our family sometimes, in our friends that keep complaining about stuff. So just change the behavior. And one of the things that start to change the behavior is education. We need to educate people about what is a complaint and why do people complain. And you here have had very good understanding about that. So the question is, how can we help? Anyone has any ideas about what can we do as Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, or whatever our role in our teams is? How can we help?
I guess you start by listening. That would be the first thing I would do.
Good. Anyone else?
Open mind, I think, is key. They need to have an open mind for sure.
Finding out what the root cause of the complaint really is first.
There's the PM.
Yeah, sometimes helping people to find why they are complaining. And as coaches, besides being an Agile coach, I'm also a professional coach. And as a professional coach, what I believe is that people are whole and resourceful. They are not broken. Sometimes they are just stuck. And coaching skills come in hand when people are stuck, because we can have a thought-provoking conversation. Challenge, do experiments. As you all say, all of your ones were perfectly valid. So, and another thing is, we should model the behavior we want to see in others. If myself as the Scrum Master or the coach for the team, I keep complaining about the company, complaining about the manager, complaining about everything, I will not get people anywhere. So we start by changing ourselves and then start to change the behavior in others. Even though people bound by complaining, we don't want that. We want people bind on projects to change something. So, question for you. What was the last time that you had a conversation and you felt like the other person was really listened to you? You felt heard.
I can think of one example when I voiced a complaint and I felt the person was a good listener because they asked a few small questions and then restated my question or complaint into a problem statement with some options to make a solution.
Someone was really listening to you.
Yeah, doesn't happen often.
Yeah, to kind of pivot off that, like one of my mentors, he works for another company now, sadly, but I still meet up with him when I can. he lets me vent for like 20 minutes. I just go because nobody else listens to me. I'm like Jeff, very rarely because people listen to me. I'm always the one doing the listening. So I just talk for 20 minutes. But as I'm doing that, he's picking out key points. Okay, so when I think about some of the things that you just said, let's come back. You said this and you said that and you said that. So what does that mean to you? And then like just pulling those types of questions out so that I can come up with my own actions and guiding me through those power questions. The way he's guided me has helped me be a better coach for other Scrum Masters. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So I could see from when I cannot see, Jeff, don't take this as a criticism, but I could feel for your voice and for the face. Saunders? Okay, I could see for your face and the voice of Jeff when we were talking about it. There is this feeling of someone was actually listening to me, and is not often. So, and this is a skill that we can learn, is actually listening. One of the things when I started my training to be a coach that I was told by my first mentor was, when you are about to say something or when you ask a question, count to 10. Don't jump in. So take a deep breath and start to count. It's not when it's counting slowly, because if you ask a question, people will naturally try to talk. If you are not comfortable with silence or being silent, you will never listen actually what is happening around. So being the good listener is the first bit of it. So let's share that good feeling of being listened. Really listen with others. And then, remember, we talk about a complaint is a dream that was not met. So if something is missing, we can ask a question. What you'd like to have happen? Or what can you do about it? Just one of humans is a human condition. We all suffer from that. We love solutionizing things, right? Is our thing. We are all good giving solutions to others. But that listening bit, ask the question, don't go on solutionizing, give yourself that little count and wait for the person that is actually complaining starting to talk. What needs to happen so this would stop? What can you do about it? That is the kind of questions that sometimes we just talk, we complain about things and we never stop to think, or those people, our team never stop to think, what can we do about it? And brainstorm around it. So you, as a good listener, be curious, don't judge. We should never judge a book by its cover, people keep saying, and it's true. If someone is complaining about something, don't just assume they are in a bad humor, they will never get out of that. People often are stuck. And if you can have your active listening skills, as Raquel, now it comes the first name, Raquel said, someone was listening and summarizing, listening for the feelings, observing the body language. Keep yourself curious. If you go in a trip somewhere, if you're home, in your hometown, you say, oh, always the sidewalks are dirty, the people won't respect the traffic. If you go and travel to India, you will say, oh, you should see the traffic there. There is all of this confusion, and there is this, there is that. You are not judging, you are stating facts. And sometimes with our own teams, people close to us, we tend to judge instead of listening with curiosity. So, questions for you. That little bit time to think about ourselves. Am I a good listener? Did I ever ask someone, am I a good listener? Do you feel that when we're talking, I'm listening to you? And the other question is, there's never enough being a good listener, so how can I improve? And sometimes one of the things that happens is, even though we are listening, inside of our head, there is all the things that are happening in the world, and we can just not focus on the person that is in front of us. So we are not picking up the complaint, we are not offering time to think, we are just nodding and moving forward. Take your time, ask questions, be curious. This is some active listening. You activate is like you can have your, of course, we all have the time that we are in chatting mode, but we can just click in active listening mode and activate all these characteristics around it. Okay, so now summarizing, we learn what is a complaint, what can we do to help. Now, the question is, what is possible? Now, with what we learned so far, what is possible? Yeah, someone said here something that is really true. Keep your inner voice quiet. Yeah, don't chatter is awful. When I started as a coach, I need to take loads of notes because my head would not stop for a moment. And with time, loads of practice, my head starts to quiet down, which is not an easy thing to do, believe me. So the questions for now for us is, what is possible? Turn negatives into positives. Listen for the complaint. We already learned some questions. What can you do differently? What is really, if you have a magic wand and you can solve this situation, how would that look like? Get people beyond their limiting beliefs. If you have doubts about limiting beliefs, I think we're going to touch that a little bit ahead. Otherwise, we can talk in detail about it a little bit afterwards. So go for it. Listen. Turn negatives into positives. Complaints into requests. So when you listen a complaint, think about, okay, someone is telling me that something is not right. We need to know what is not right. We need to know what can we do differently. Or if not, if sometimes things are out of our control, what is in our control to do? Open possibilities. Explore what is possible. What can I change? What can I do? Remember that you only can change the things you can do. You cannot change other people's actions. Okay? Oops. One click too much. So, learn alternative ways of communicating. One of them is feedback. If we don't have a culture that includes feedback, feedback is a very awkward thing. So when you give feedback to someone, someone will take that as, someone is criticizing. Oh, thanks for the feedback. That's good. So feedback is really, really important. When I do team agreements with my teams, one of the things I ask in the team agreement is, if someone in the team has some feedback to give you, how would like to receive that? Some people say one-to-one, please call me aside and be direct. I had people that told me I'm very sensitive. And if you have to tell me something, please be gentle. So you will know, and I map people. Now, I know this person here likes to hear the feedback from me. Someone says, oh, if I do something wrong, just call me out. I can take it. I'm tough. People say, send me an email. I like to read and reflect. So we all have different ways to receive feedback. And you, me, are the ones who need to start the chain of feedback, because feedback will be less and less awkward as we practice it. Okay. And remember, probably all of us heard about the Agile Manifesto thing. So there is one thing in the Agile Manifesto that says we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others to do it. This is the Agile Manifesto. So it's not only doing it, it's doing and helping others to do it. That makes the change. So as much feedback, as much culture of communication, you can put me out of my job, I go cooking or do something else, but communication and listen, teach how and educate your teams and the people you work with about it. So, who ever heard about COIN as a feedback framework? So this some of you did, some of you don't. So I'm gonna make a run through it and then you're gonna give me your opinion on it, okay? If the ones that use it, and you can afterwards share some of your insights on it. So this is based on non-violent communication. So talk with people in the way people don't feel that threatened or something like that. So context. When something happened, talk to people and state facts. Not you did this, just happened. Yesterday, when we were in the meeting, context. We had this client and we had some new people that joined the team. We were all together in the room. This is a fact, this is context where we were. Now the observation. The observation, we need to be very careful, is a fact. What happened? No you sentences, okay? You did this. So I noticed that our new colleagues, they were very quiet the whole time. There was not as much communication of voices in the room as we would like to have. And then is the impact of it. I'm afraid that we might lose some of the important opinions or some important insights if people keep quiet in the meetings. And what comes next? A request for change. What can we do different? How can I help you to be more inclusive? How can we do this together? What can we change? Okay, so avoiding sentences starting by you, because the person can feel, and state facts, what happened, and listen for the other person, what the other person. I find myself using this, and one of my biggest observations is sometimes people do harm unintentionally. They are unaware of the impact of their actions. Anyone wants to share something? Because there was some hands saying, I know it, or you think this might help you? Go on.
Makes sense. I remember the non-violent communication. There's another, I don't know where it fits into these 4 steps, but there's the one step when you also clarify your own feelings, like whatever. So what happened, and that made me feel like this and that. I got nervous, I got angry. So is that,
Yeah,
would
not
that be like the impact part?
can be the impact when I feel, and you can state your feelings. I'm afraid that,
Yeah. I think that's an important part, because we cannot, or I think personally think we should not ignore our feelings, as it sometimes happens in corporate environment. It's like feelings, it's a no-go, it's suppressed. So that's what I usually don't like, because then if you suppress this, it starts to be fake, right? But I agree, not accusing, but if a feeling, it's a fact, I think we should be able to say this, like whatever, in this meeting, this and that happened, and I felt angry, and probably they have seen it anyway. So that then you can, I think the secret is to separate these things in different departments. So this is fact, this happened, context, and this is what happened with my feelings, and this is what I would like to change, I would like to move forward, right? Just an observation.
yeah, the context would be what and when. No, observation is what did you observe in there? Impact, what you foresee that can happen. And next, if we see something, we offer help or offer something that can help to solve the problem. If we don't have an idea how to do it, we just volunteer to what can we do together and listen.
I also think it's important when you're trying to understand the context of what happened. Of course, you never want to use the word you, totally agree with that, but you have to be careful with the word why. Why did you do that? Because sometimes that can come across very negatively. It can cause the person to pull back and withhold a lot of information. So trying to find other ways of asking the questions in a positive manner, like, okay, well, tell me more about that. What was your thought process behind that? You know, those types of things.
Yeah, completely. Agree completely. So this is coin. I like to teach this to my teams, especially because one of the things I notice is that emotional intelligence is something that we need to help grow around us, especially when we work in very tech environments. People are very mathematical skilled, but emotional intelligence, sometimes they just don't see the impact of what they are saying, of what they are doing. Us, the good thing about emotional intelligence is we can grow it. We can practice. And there is the inwards and outwards. Inwards is how can I manage my feelings? Am I showing judgment on my face? Because it's very important if you are giving feedback, even you are saying all the right words. Remember, most of your communication is non-verbal. So if you have that, that face, like disapproval face, is your words. and you can feel that people are talking to you and their body language is when my husband asks me, is everything okay? And I answer, yes.
Run.
The right word, the wrong face. So yeah, so this is just a funny example of how can we give feedback in something, or and our face or our tone of voice is giving us away. So that emotional intelligence should come and help us to be to manage our feelings and to be able to be non-judgmental. And then is the social awareness, how we are perceived and how people perceive us. So this is, if you want, there is a whole world about emotional intelligence. So you can dig it out. I'm happy to share some resources with you if you want to. So, and one of the big things about emotional intelligence is empathy. Does everybody know the difference between empathy and sympathy?
I think of empathy as I know where you are. I know where you've been. Sympathy, I'm so sorry. Hearts, love, kisses, hugs.
I think the difference, there is a bigger difference than that. I think it's, if you are sympathizing, then it's kind of like you like that person, you have a personal preference connection. And empathy is understanding what the other person feels, even if you don't like that person, like anyone. Is that right?
Might not. So empathy is more like I can relate to you. I can mirror your feelings because I can, deep inside, I can understand your feeling. And if you are talking to someone that is in distress, you probably want to be saying, oh, sorry, you need to be patient. I'm so sorry for that, because the person will feel like, okay, you are being sympathetic with me. You are not being empathic. You're not here with me. I'm feeling alone. When the person feels that you are there with it's like this has these two here, these two columns here. And empathy is when you accept others. Despite we sometimes have different views, different ideas, different challenges, you respect, accept, and you can relate to people. A little bit what Axel said. You communicate assertively. So people, when you talk, and your emotions, your body language is matching.
You're connected with them. You're in the same
Exactly.
field. You're meeting them where they are. Whereas the other one is just so far off in the distance, whatever. Hi, text messages, empathy, give me a hug. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's do this together in this room. I got you.
And there is, so you can see there is signals of low emotional intelligence. And that is when we need to help people sometimes to understand why they are not being perceived the way they want. I had a colleague a while ago, and he was very distressed with his team because he keeps saying, oh, they don't listen to me. When I talk, they roll their eyes, they are rude. And one day we grow a very good relationship. And I told him, look, you allow me to do you. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, we do a little game of a role play. I'm gonna try to imitate your voice and your tone. Rachel was exactly his face, and he laughed and said, knock yourself out. I'm here for the popcorn. So I mimic his tone of voice in the meetings. And it was like, do I sound like? That are my words, but do I sound like that? And I was like, is what I hear. Of course, we grow a relationship that allow me to have this open conversation. And I heard a lot of feedback from him, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes nothing related, but help us to grow. So he became aware that because he never perceived himself as sometimes being too direct or to come up too strong. So we start to work on his communication skills and the way he was perceived by his colleagues. And you got, after some time, the promotion he was looking so much for and was never on his reach because his emotional intelligence. And he was a brilliant technical people, but his leadership skills to connect him with people were not that good. And was not a bad person. Was an amazing person. We still have connection today. Was just the emotional intelligence was not there.
Yeah.
So he grew that, the awareness of, sometimes you would ask me, oh, I did well this time? And I told him once, look, that's one thing here. Let's pause. And you only talk when I introduce you to the conversation. And we did that a few meetings, and I will introduce him to the conversation, and the team would stop to listen, would not try to speak over him because he was not cutting anyone off. So it was a little change, but the awareness was key to change. So all the changes start with awareness. Shall we move for the next one?
Yes.
So how do we grow emotional intelligence? Look at your work environment. Do a self-evaluation. Be courage to look at you. Remember, you only can change you. You cannot change others. What can I change? Look at yourself truly. And that helped me to change many of my behaviors that were not, especially being a foreigner, working in a different country, different culture, different ways of communication. I need to learn a lot how to manage my words before people perceive me as someone that was not that friendly. Keep your emotions under control. Examine how do you react in stressful situations, what can trigger you. So if we can understand what can trigger us and to be more kind of snap, understand, look at you, get to know yourself, get to know your feelings. And when you receive feedback, take responsibility for your actions, or don't say, oh, sorry, and take responsibility. Ask, what can I do different? How can I do better? What did I do that affect? What did I do that affect you that much? So learn from others and see how other people perceives you. So you can actually change and be the change you want to see in others. Yeah. So this is pretty much be the change you want to see in the world. You cannot ask anyone to be something that you cannot be a role model for it. If you are a coach, a scrum master, a product owner, a developer, doesn't matter where you are and whatever your profession is, are you a team lead? Are you a people manager? If you can, people will mirror your actions. If someone is smiling at you, you tend to smile back. If someone is angry at you, you tend to give the emotion back. So if you tend to smile to your colleagues, do not show a judgy face, be open to feedback, and start to educate people around you, you will start to see change. Remember, we are closing the complaints department. So to do that, we need to be the first ones to get there. And that is the thing. Worry only about things you can change. You probably cannot change your entire organization, but you can start to change the world around you. So don't bother to complain about the CEO that did that announcement. You cannot control what he said. You made people angry, okay, but you still have your life to go on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like, yeah, they just announced this. Yeah, I cannot control what the dude says. Can say whatever he wants, but we can control here. I can be the best person, the best version of myself possible, and teach others how to do it. We might not be able to change the technology in the firm, but you might be able to improve what we do as our work. We might not be able to change our stakeholders, but we might be able to educate that. Okay, and everything starts with self-awareness and education. So we want to change behaviors, so change attitude. When we change our attitude, our behavior change. And how do our behavior change? When we take actions. And what happens when we take actions? The results happen. And with hard work, we get to a very good performance state. It's not easy to start to change the way we communicate, be aware, receive feedback, create the company, give feedback, someone talk about, but I can give feedback to my superiors if the environment allows or encourages that. I'm kind of a pain in the backside, and I volunteer myself. Sometimes I say to give feedback to someone, I have a piece of feedback to give you, may I? Usually people, we are hardwired to say yes. So people would say, yes, go ahead. And I state the facts, I state my concerns. If I know a better way, I can propose that. If I don't, what can we do about it? So, and I listen to what was the moment was perceived by the other person. I had very good experience with some people that I work with, being even people higher in the hierarchy than I am. Some people don't want feedback, say no, okay, it's up to them. We tried. We can try again and again. And that's it. I hope it helped you, at least remind you some of the concepts, and it starts in you. Okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
Do you have
Raquel.
questions? Anything that you want to?
Maybe an observation. Just something that you said really reminded me of some interesting psychological facts of behavior. And this is the mirroring thing that we have. And if you, I remember, I don't know where I read this, but I observed this with myself when I am interacting with someone. I catch myself imitating certain behaviors of that other person. For example, there's someone who is always like makes a certain move with the head, and I don't know why, but I start suddenly doing the same thing. Or the way of the way of talking, sometimes the rhythm. And I don't know if you catch yourself, maybe you can observe that you start off doing the same thing. So if one is smiling, you start smiling. This is what you said. You start smiling. The other starts smiling. You kind of start smiling too. Or even tics behavior. So that's an interesting thing, because it shows that you're starting to sync up with the person somehow. And I don't know, this has an impact on that other person, because that person will perceive you like okay, you are on the same level, you're somehow an ally, you're a friend, something like that. This is curious, right?
I think the other way works too. Like if someone maybe is agitated, speaks fast, and then you speak calmly, and
Yeah,
they tend to
can influence. Yeah, can kind of influence people like that. Yeah.
I've noticed too that definitely going back to the body language thing, whatever you do not like expand yourself when you're like, so tell me what's going on, because that intimidates the crap out of people, even on camera. So when somebody's asking you and they're ready to talk, show them that you're willing to listen. I don't care if you see my wrinkles, but you just kind of like, like really be engaged. Let them know that you're really listening to them, and so forth. And I don't necessarily want to make yourself as small as possible. Stop it, Raquel. Anyway, you don't want to make yourself as small as possible, because that makes you look like somebody who can't help you at all, like a mouse, but you want to be neutral with your body. Exactly. Look at you all. Some of you are doing it. Great.
We are good learners.
I
Oh,
did learn somewhere, like if the complaint is for someone,
Yeah.
try to coach the person to say, are you comfortable giving that feedback to whoever that person is? Because I guess as a scrum master or coach or manager or whatnot, we might get a lot of complaint about someone else. And we need to help that person be comfortable about giving feedback. And sometimes if they're not willing to,
what
then
if
it's on them. Yeah.
what if I'm a scrum master who comes
Mhm.
and I have a complaint about somebody else? You have
Mhm.
suggested maybe you should talk to this person. I've done this person. I've tried to talk to this person. They are not willing to offer feedback. They are not willing to change their behavior. What do you do?
Oh, like the scrum master complained about that?
Well, I'm coming to you. You're my coach.
Mhm.
I'm a scrum master. I'm having problems with this manager who doesn't understand their role as a stakeholder. I've talked to them about where they need to be. I've provided some feedback with very heavy resistance. It's like, what do you?
Mhm. Yeah, then we have to have like that's a point to listen. But that's a point to listen and help out the scrum master and like work through the problem and see what opportunities, what other maybe systemic situation that we should need to address. So maybe they're looking more for some advice and mentoring at that point, I'm thinking. But what I'm really saying, like I have complaints about, oh, like I don't like that the product owner tell us to do this because so on and so forth. That kind of complaint, it's kind of good to also like see if that person are open to give that feedback to the person they're complaining about directly. And also see, would you be willing to practice a feedback, like probably the coin? That's a point where we can teach them how to give feedback too.
That is one of the motives I like to collect everybody's way of receiving feedback. For me, it's very useful. If I have something to tell you about yourself or something else, how can I reach you? And I have permission to do that in the way the person feels comfortable. Sometimes they say they feel comfortable, in the end they don't. But in the end, I was like, okay, I did my best here. How can I do better next time? And I try to get, that's one of the reasons why I try to get, how do you want to get feedback? I tell them, look, I grow tough skin above the years, so just bring it on, whatever. I can take it. And I heard the worst things, and people sometimes came to me and say, oh, you did that. And it's like, yes, I did. And what about it? What I was wrong with it? And I was like, oh, was this, and I like this, and I don't like that. Oh, okay, here we go. Way to improve. Sometimes I just hurt someone's feelings without even notice. Just because I'm different, I'm open. Sometimes I do jokes, and the joke was not intended to hurt anyone's feelings. Sometimes it's about myself, and I hurt someone's feelings. I learned to, sometimes even in trainings, sometimes I say, people, look, if you have something to tell me, just come around and tell me, send me a message, ping me, raise your hand and talk it out loud.
Yeah. Well, Raquel, I have to hop off for another call. It has been a wonderful experience getting to listen to you. You've really opened my eyes about a lot of things. And I know some of our Indian friends, it's 10:30 at night where you are, so you need to go to sleep.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We have a question in the chat. I don't know if you still have some time to answer.
What is the best way to become effective in communication? Is Habibi still here? For me, I can only speak from my own experience, is be aware, create self-awareness, ask for feedback. I, as a Portuguese person living in London for many years, I have a very different way to say things to people. I just say it's wrong because it's wrong, it's not right. And in London, if I say it's wrong to someone, I'm diminishing that person. I'm saying the person, you're no good. And I usually tell people, if I do something that hurts you, is not intentional, tell me or I will do it again. And I got some really good people that always were able to come back to me and say, Raquel, you use these words might be perceived this way or that way. And I appreciate and I make myself available to all of that kind of feedback, and be aware, create self-awareness. That is the only thing that I can tell you was what worked for me. Coaching training helped me to listen, practice listening, be able to, someone is talking to me and quiet my head. My head is like, I have my husband offer me something that says, my brain has too many tabs open. And when I'm coaching, because I can jump subject, when I'm coaching, I really need to learn how to control myself, to quiet my mind and hearing, catching limiting beliefs, catching self-doubt, catching patterns in the conversation. So learning to control myself. Yeah, as I used to say, the key is always us. And was not
Yeah.
us. Did I answer your question, Abib? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Raquel, for
Thank you. It was
being
my
our-
pleasure.
Yeah.
Highly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, have a great day or evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.